For most newcomers, finding a job when they land in Canada is a priority. Delays in the job search can sometimes cause financial stress during the initial months in Canada. And also, in addition to the prolonged job search, can result in an employment gap that will now show up on their resume, impacting their ability to find suitable jobs in their field. Yet, as a newcomer, finding your first job can be challenging. You are in an entirely new culture without clear understanding of what employers are looking for in candidates. In this video, I will cover 15 of the mistakes that I have seen newcomers make so that you can avoid them and land that dream job that you've always wanted as soon as you land in a new country like Canada. The first mistake that I have seen a lot of people and newcomers make is starting the job search only after they've landed in Canada. As a newcomer, finding that new job can take time, so the sooner you start, the better it's gonna be for you. Ideally, I would advise that you should start reviewing some of the job descriptions that you fit your profile even before you start planning to move to Canada. That way you have a general idea of the qualities that employers look for in candidates, so that if there are any gaps that you need to fill, you can prepare yourself before you even land. And that also give you an idea of how to even prep yourself and even start your job search when you land in Canada. The good news is the hiring process for most Canadian companies typically takes between 3 to 4 weeks. So you should actively start looking at least weeks before you plan on landing in Canada. And with most interviews happening remotely, that will allow you to at least be able to land that job before you land in Canada, because you can go through the whole interview process remotely and they might be able to even offer you the job, so that as soon as you land, you will be ready to start working. The second job mistake that I have seen a lot of newcomers make is not using the Canadian style format resume. Applying to jobs in Canada using your home country resume format is a mistake that I have seen a lot of newcomers make. Even in my current role, sometimes you see people coming in there to come and submit their resume, and they are using the old format that they came with from their home country, and their resume is not even optimized for most of the Canadian format for you to even review them. Firstly, using resume formats that is not common in Canada gives recruiters the impression that you are not familiar with the Canadian job market. Secondly, most employers use the applicant tracking system, that's the ATS system, which will not be able to at least read non-standard resume formats. That means that resumes that you are sending out are not even being pulled up by the ATS system for even a human being to be able to look at them. And because it's not standardized to the right format, it's just going through the system without it being pulled for somebody who thinks you meet that job description to even pay attention to it. Another major difference that I've seen between the Canadian style resume and the typical resumes that most people come with from their home countries is that the Canadian style resume basically focuses on your achievements, whilst most of the resumes that people come with from their home countries focus on the duties of the job that they actually perform. And also in some countries, if you are preparing a resume, you are required to have a photograph of yourself on your resume, your age, other personal details are supposed to be on your resume. But in Canada, those things are a no-no, because they don't want the recruiter to be able to at least marginalize you based on some of these identifiable qualities. But you see people putting through resumes with all these details on it. I see people bringing resumes with their photographs, their date of birth, even sometimes their age on those resumes. All these things I no-no. So using at least the Canadian style resume that at least the employer's value will improve your chances of at least even called for the interview, so that when you get to the interview, you can show them what you are capable of doing and what value that you can bring to their business. So if you are making that mistake, my advice is at least correct it right now before you submit the next job application. The third mistake is submitting the same resume for all job applications. It is advisable that you always customize your resume based on the keywords from the job description for the job that you are applying to. And this does not apply to your survival jobs. I'm talking about what we call career jobs, jobs that you are looking for that might be paying you 6 figures, something that you can at least live off, not just survival jobs. It is advisable to do this because most of these jobs, the recruiters are receiving sometimes tens of hundreds of applications, and they don't have time to go through every single application to see whether as a candidate you meet that job description or not. So they use the ATS software, that's the applicant tracking software, to at least search for keywords that they have programmed in that job description if it's found in the resumes that have been submitted. That way, the ones that are shortlisted by the ATS, a human being can now at least pay attention to them and check and see whether those candidates can be called for an interview or not. At least tailoring your resume to that job description will highly improve your chances of a resume getting to the table of a hiring manager for him to review. And if you meet what he's looking for, he can now call you to the interview to at least talk to you based on what he has seen in your resume. And a quick tip here, whilst you are customizing your resume based on that particular job description, it is highly advisable to eliminate any roles that are not relevant to the particular job that you are applying to. That way, the hiring manager can focus on just what value that you can bring to the company and not be distracted by other roles that are not relevant to the job that he's recruiting you for. Number 4 will be lack of focus or clarity in your job search. This is one mistake that I have seen a lot of newcomers commit, and most times it leads to frustration because they lack focus in their job search. Through your job search, it is important to be clear about the kind of job that you are looking for, because as a newcomer, it is common for you to get frustrated if you are not getting positive response from recruiters when you are sending your resume out. And if you are not clear about the particular jobs that you are looking for, you will just be applying to any jobs that you see out there, and you might not be qualified for those jobs. And by not meeting the qualification, nobody is going to call you for an interview. And because you are not getting called for an interview, you will think that there are no jobs out there, and you might just get frustrated, which will now impact your job search process. And whilst we are on this, applying to multiple jobs in the same company is one mistake that you do well to stay clear of, because doing this, you'll be telling the recruiter that you are not clear about your career goals and you are just desperate for any job, which might send the wrong signal across. So don't get tempted to just start applying to any jobs that you see. You need to be very clear about the type and kind of jobs that you want for yourself. The 5th mistake is aiming too low or aiming too high. A common myth that many newcomers have come to believe is that when you land in a new country like Canada, you are supposed to take a step down or take up entry-level roles when you are considering restarting your career. This is really not true, because your work experience from your home country can really be relevant when it comes to job search in a country like Canada. The only exception in this case might be that you came in as a student, so even though your skill sets will be valuable to a company, you are not available to the company for the 40 hours that they may actually need you, or your work permit or study permits that you were issued actually limits you to a lower number of working hours, which means you won't be able to satisfy the hours that that company actually needs. But if these restrictions does not apply to you, then there is no need for you to actually lower your expectation or lower yourself to an entry-level role in the hope of restarting your Canadian career. Ideally, you should target job opportunities that align with your previous experience from your old roles. If you start targeting roles that are below your previous roles, you might come across as somebody who is not confident, especially if you have all the necessary qualifications and certifications to be targeting those particular jobs. On the other hand, if you are applying for jobs or roles that are above your previous roles, you might come across as somebody who is underqualified, which will limit the amount of responses that you start getting from recruiters. Moreover, the applicant tracking systems will be matching the keywords in the job descriptions against the qualities that you have listed in your resume. So you are better off targeting roles that you are actually qualified for, because those keywords will be found on your resume, which will increase the chances of you at least transitioning from your previous role to this role, because you'll be able to now transfer those skills seamlessly without any challenges. Mistake number 6 is underestimating the importance of volunteer work. Most employers hire applicants who have Canadian experience, which might be a challenge for somebody like you who just landed in Canada and has not actually performed any duties with any Canadian company. So you don't actually have those Canadian work experience to bring on board. However, the definition of Canadian experience can be very broad, which will cover jobs like volunteering, unpaid jobs, survival jobs, basically any job that you've actually done in Canada that might qualify as a Canadian work experience, as long as those skill sets that you have are transferable from the job to the new role that you're actually looking for. So sometimes even survival jobs can build the skill sets that are transferable to that new job that you are looking for. As a newcomer, volunteer work can look good on your resume. Volunteering is something that is ingrained in the Canadian culture, but most times newcomers disregard it because they feel that this is free work that I'm offering to that particular employer, forgetting that being in that company, you actually have your feet in there. So if there are any new opportunities, you might be the first person to hear about them. And also because they've actually worked with you, when it comes to at least vetting you, they can vouch for the type of work that you are capable of delivering. Mistake number 7 has to do with only applying to posted jobs. Canada has a huge hidden job market. That means that about 65 to 80% of the available jobs are not posted online. So basically, it's like the ones that you are seeing online are about just 20% of the available jobs. Instead, most of these jobs are filled through recruiter networks. I have been a beneficiary of these recruiter networks where sometimes somebody or another recruiter might recommend you to somebody who is looking for someone to fill a particular role, and the job might not even be advertised online, but based on your skill sets, they will now approach you and ask you whether you are interested in that particular job. This is one of the reasons why we always say it's important to have a very strong network, because if your network is very strong enough and the position is available, they can even become referees for you and they can refer you to those particular positions. So only focusing on jobs that are posted online, you will be limiting yourself to just a small portion of available jobs, which will also limit your chances of possibly landing that job that you've always wanted, because all you are doing is just applying to a fraction of the available jobs. Number 8 is not building or leveraging on your networks in Canada. Your professional network is your most valuable asset when it comes to your job search in Canada. Many newcomers are unfamiliar with the concept of networking, and they are very reluctant to reach out to professionals in the industry that possibly they find themselves in or they want to even enter. However, in the Canadian job market, networking is a necessity. Most Canadians network not only when it is time to look for a new job. Basically, they are always networking throughout their career. Although connecting with professionals on LinkedIn and sometimes asking them out for coffee might be alien to you, one thing you have to be aware of is that most of the people who are in Canada are already used to these requests. So for them, it might not be new, even though it is new to you. You will find out that most professionals, even senior executives, are always ready to take you out and listen to you and give you advice if you are actually interested in meeting them. to help you start your career. You can also leverage on your network to possibly learn about a particular employer or even an industry that you are interested in. Number 9, and this is a big one, I've seen a lot of people make this mistake, is actually not optimizing your LinkedIn profile for job search. Most employers will go through your LinkedIn profile and sometimes even your social media networks even before they offer you a job. Your LinkedIn profile is a reflection of who you are as a professional, so make sure you keep it updated, optimized and polished as much as possible so that anybody who goes there will possibly see the best of you as a candidate. Also, many recruiters will actively go through LinkedIn to contact prospective candidates who might have the necessary skill sets that they are looking for, and sometimes they might even reach out to them about possible opportunities that they might have available for them. So make sure your LinkedIn profile clearly states what kind of jobs that you are looking for and the kind of skill sets that you possess and the value that you can bring to any particular organization. You can also increase the visibility of your LinkedIn profile by posting thoughtful and relevant content regularly and engaging with people and professionals in your industry. Number 10 is emphasizing only technical skills on your Canadian resume. Soft skills or interpersonal skills are highly sought after on the Canadian job market. Some skills that are commonly in demand are communication skills, adaptability, time management skills, problem solving skills, decision making skills, creativity, leadership, and attention to detail. These are some of the skills that are highly sought after, and it will be good to make sure that they are on your Canadian resume. Although job specific skills are very important, listing only those ones might just limit your chances of possibly landing that job that you are looking for. So make sure you read that job description very well and ensure that all the needed skills that are relevant on the job description find their way into your resume. Number 11, not including a strong cover letter with your resume. Even if the job description does not ask for it, it is valuable for you to add a cover letter to your job application. A well-written cover letter can help you to stand out in a situation where the employer has to choose between several candidates with the same work history and skill sets. Like your resume, your cover letter should also be customized for each role. You shouldn't just use one cover letter to apply to all jobs. And also avoid repeating information that are already in your resume in your cover letter. Your cover letter is an opportunity for you to share extra information about you that are not already in your resume. Things like your accomplishment and why you are a best fit for that particular job position is an opportunity for you to at least articulate to the recruiter why they should choose you over other candidates. Number 12, and this is the worst one that I've seen people do, and that has to do with lying on your job application. Lying or exaggerating on your resume is a mistake that you cannot afford when it comes to job search on the Canadian job market. Most Canadian employers will undertake extensive background checks, including contacting your old employers and even verifying your education credentials. Moreover, you are likely to be asked questions about those lies that you've told on your resume, and some of them can easily fish out some of those lies if it's something that has to do with the industry that they find themselves in, because when they ask you questions, you will start filibustering and they can tell that it's something that you have no knowledge of and you are just there to waste their time, which might go a long way to possibly get you blacklisted when it gets to that employer, because they will know that you are somebody that they cannot even trust. And even if you somehow manage to land that job, some employers will have clauses in your contract that will allow them to terminate your contract if they find out later that you actually lied on your resume to secure that particular job. So why waste your time and their time by just lying on your resume? My best advice is just put whatever you've done in the past. No need to lie, and just target job positions that align with your skill sets. Number 13 has to do with appearing for a job interview unprepared. In Canada, interviews are meant to evaluate your technical skills, soft skills, as well as how well fitted you are for that particular role. So showing up to an interview without sufficient preparation can actually ruin your chances of getting selected. Make sure you do your research about the company, the role, and even possibly about the interviewers. You can also have some examples to support some of the responses that you'll be giving to the interviewers during the interview, and also come prepared with possible questions to ask them during the interview, because at some point they will ask you whether you have some questions, and having questions ready to ask will show them that you have actually put in the preparation for this interview. Don't just assume that just because you've been selected for the interview, you have just landed the job. It's just the first step in the job search process for you, because there is a high chance that they would have interviewed people before you and they are going to interview people after you, or possibly they might be considering people internally. So try and put your best foot forward when it comes to the interview process. Number 14, and this is something that's new to a lot of newcomers, is not following up on an interview. Always send a thank you email within the first 24 hours after the interview. Not only is it polite for you to thank them for taking time out of their busy schedule to at least speak to you, but it will also go a long way to restate your interest in that particular job. You can even personalize that thank you email by including some pertinent points that were discussed during the interview, so that they can be aware that you were paying attention during the interview process. Ideally, you should ask the interviewers when you should expect a decision about that particular job, so that you can at least follow up accordingly, and also avoid following up too often, as that might look pushy and might sound that you are too impatient. And if you don't get a response to the third email or within a month after the interview, it will be best to focus your energy on other opportunities, because they might have moved on from you as a candidate. Because in most cases, if they are considering you, the recruiter will reach out to let you know that they haven't made a decision yet, which will give you the chance to ask when you should send the next follow-up email. My last mistake that I'll speak on would be asking for a salary that is not in line with industry standards. Most Canadian employers will ask you about your salary expectation during the interview process, because they would like to know how much you would like to get paid for doing that particular job description that they have, because there is a high chance that they will have a salary band that they are considering their particular role for, and they would like to know whether your expectation falls within the band or it falls outside that particular band. Some recruiters might bring this one up during the screening process. That will be the first contact that they have with you about the job. They will ask you what your salary expectations are, whilst others will not bring that one up at that point, but it will come up at the closing stage when they are ready to at least make you an offer. Either way, it is important for you to do your research so that you know what the salary is for that particular job that you are applying to, so that you don't either end up asking for a number that is too low or a number possibly that's too high. Websites like Glassdoor will at least give you an idea of how much a particular role in that particular company is paying for, which will help you to at least gauge what number you should be targeting, because you don't want to ask for a number that's too low when that particular employer might be open to paying you more. Also, you can ask close connections in your network about how much a particular role in that particular industry is paid for. Don't go asking them how much they earn. That might be rude. What you are looking for is not how much they earn, but you want to know how roles that you are actually looking at are actually paid at. And also, when you are asked what your expected salary is, don't go in with a single number. It is always advisable to have a range which will give you room to negotiate when it gets to the closing point. And also be sure to look at the compensation package as a whole. Look beyond just the salary that's being offered, because most times most companies might be giving you a salary, but there might be other compensation packages around that number that might end up pushing the number up. I believe that by being prepared and avoiding most of these mistakes that I've articulated in this video, you will be able to improve your chances of landing that job that you've always wanted, and you wouldn't have to now take a step down when it comes to restarting your career. If you got value out of this video, can you subscribe to this channel so that we can all learn together? And also don't forget to hit the like button so that you see value in this video and show it to other people. And feel free to share this video with your family and friends who might see relevant information in it. Until the next video, cheers.